Onnit podcast. We've got Michelle Norris, the head and founder of Paleo FX, with us.
Thank you so much for having me here. That was quite interesting.
I love it. We get the clap and it's on. And I looked at the hourglass and our 1 hour timer is going. My man Ryan Giles has a set. We're locked and loaded.
Cool.
We're jumping right in. So let's start from the beginning. And first let me say a big thank you to you. A lot of gratitude for you, because we're going to talk about a lot of stuff on this podcast, but I had this feeling. I was doing my own podcast, living in Vegas for a short while, and I had this calling to go to Paleo FX, and it's a place I'd always wanted to go, but ticket prices were high, not for Paleo FX, but for just to get out there, right? And so I had done an ayahuasca ceremony, and I asked in ceremony, should I go to Paleo FX? And a lot of the great speakers that you have there, like Rob Wolf and Mark Sisson, like I've read all their books, so whatever they're going to say on stage, I've probably downloaded more than that from the years they put into their work, And so I thought, well, if I'm not going to learn that, what's the reason to go? And it was like, you have to go because you're going to meet people. It's the connections.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, after that ceremony, I looked, prices were cut in half to fly out. My buddies at Mind Pump were like, hey, dude, if you're going to go to Paleo FX, just stay with us. We're going to get giant Airbnbs. You can be dude on the couch or have your own room, and we'll take you everywhere. They fed me the whole time. Like it worked out perfectly. And then, of course, at Paleo FX, I meet Aubrey Marcus. We share a flight home to Vegas and spend the entire time talking about health and wellness and diet, nutrition, plant medicines, all the cool shit. Yeah. And here I am working it on it now.
That's awesome.
So thank you.
Of course. Well, we're, that's the thing about Paleo FX. Yeah, you can hear a lot of what they're going to say in some of their other stuff online in podcasts and, just different things that they do in Facebook Lives, the whole 9 yards. But there's nothing quite like being there in person. It's just completely different. The energy, getting to actually go up and meet, people are going to get a chance to meet you this year. They listen to you every week. They are changed by the things that you say. Aubrey's changed lives, Rob's changed lives, Mark's changed lives. All of these people change lives. But the really cool thing is to get to go up and say, hey, you've changed my life and this is how you've done it. And I've been following you, or I've been listening to you for however long. That's just the coolest part of the whole thing, is that interaction and community. And, you can't get that. You can't get that through a blog or even a podcast or any of that stuff. It's the live event that's just electric and it's fun. And just being around like-minded people who get, you aren't the weird person out at this event. You are the norm. And so it's really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. And just speaking of the energy of the event, like I've worked bodybuilding trade shows and Mr. Olympia and stuff like that when I had, bodybuilding sponsors and whatever. And it's funny because the whole place stink like farts. Everyone's drinking protein shakes with artificial flavors and nasty stuff. And give me, what's the free thing that I can get? And it's kind of this it's like Black Friday almost.
Yeah.
And then you go to Paleo FX and they have Vital Farms and the best bone broths and kombucha, and it's like this hippie organic mecca. And it's so rad because everything they have there is just the highest quality ingredients, and it's the best thing to put in your body, and it's the stuff you read about but maybe you haven't tried, and then you get to try it right there, and it's insane.
Yeah,
it's like I'm a kid in a candy store there, like it is insane.
I hear you. I always feel like I don't have enough time to get on the floor. That's my biggest complaint about Paleo FX is I don't end up with enough time to get on the floor and actually go see all the new stuff and try all the new stuff. And so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was super pumped to be there. So let's talk. Like, how did your husband, Keith, is big time in strength and conditioning, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And he is a guy that many people have pointed me towards. I've been following him online for years. Mm-hmm. How'd you come up with Paleo FX? What made you want to bring this gathering to where you have this really what's become the mecca of health and wellness? And everyone that I've learned through over the last 10 years, that's guided me in my message and my approach to personal, how I've healed my body and grown as a person, but also in the message and wisdom that I deliver to people through the podcast. It's all in one place. What made you want to make that come to fruition?
Well, we attended the first it was the inaugural Ancestral Health Symposium. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's decidedly academic. It's kind of our sister symposium, but it's definitely an academic symposium. Lots of science. And the thing is that, Keith and I geek out on the science, you geek out on the science. A lot of the leaders in this space geek out on the science, but at the end of the day, you have clients, and we have clients at our gyms, and they just want to know, what do I put in my mouth, and when do I do that? And what do I lift, or do I run, or what do I do physically and when do I do that? They just want to know the X's and O's. They don't want to know all the behind the scenes stuff. They're happy the science exists, but they don't really care about it. And so we needed a practice. We needed the theory. They're the theory, and we're the practice. In fact, our name originally started out Paleo FX, Theory to Practice. And that's really what it is we realized when we were on the runway at LAX, when we were flying home to, that I just was like, that was great. But at the end of the day, people need to know how to do this. The science doesn't impress a lot of people. They're just like, okay, it just confuses them. So we started talking about it, and we got home, and we decided, this was in August of 2011. And by October, we had decided we were going to put on Paleo FX, and we launched Paleo FX on March 14th. So our anniversary was just last week. It actually happens to be Keith and I's personal wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow. That's
so
nice.
We launched
Easy to remember.
Business on her. Yeah. I think Keith secretly wanted that so he'd remember. But anyway, so we launched it on our anniversary, and it was a crazy ride. We did it during South by the first year, which was the biggest mistake ever. And we will never, ever make that mistake again. But we thought that it was a good idea, and that we could kind of like piggyback on some of the stuff that was happening at South by. And plus, of course, college kids were out of school for spring break. So we thought we would be able to get some of them as volunteers and to be able to attend and stuff like that. It was fundamentally a success from the beginning, but financially it was a disaster the first year. And so we went into debt, and we actually laughed that the only reason Paleo FX 2 came out, it was so we could get our money back on the first one. And then, every year we're like, we're not going to do this again. But now we just realize how much a difference it makes in the entire movement. So that was really it. We saw a need and we filled it.
Yeah, you guys have sourced so many of the great thinkers. It's nuts to me because I didn't see them all as dominoes. I didn't see the connection until Paleo FX, and I was like, shit, every book that I've written on, I could go through the books. Grain Brain, Brainmaker, Dr. David Perlmutter, Dr. Grace Liu, Dr. Michael Ruscio, guests that I've had on the podcast, all gut health specialists, all at Paleo FX. And then you go down, Mark Sisson and Rob Wolf, guys that I've just went deep, super deep into their work, both speaking here, and from there, there's many, many more. How did you guys source? Do you have people gravitate towards you, or did you guys really just have a general knowledge of who is having an impact in this world?
Well, we had relationships with a lot of these people. So we built relationships, and really, honestly, Rob, we lovingly tease him that it's partially his fault, and also he's partially to blame, and he's also we're also very indebted to him. And because when Rob decided to get on board was when everybody else started, okay, we're going to check this out if Rob's doing it. And so like I said, we lovingly tease him that he's kind of at fault for it, but at the same time, we're just super grateful to him that he trusted us and he wanted to see what we were going to do. And like I said, we just had relationships with him and Art Devaney and several of the big speakers, and it kind of went from there. And so we just, reached out to the ones we knew, and then we've had over the years, we keep being introduced to new speakers and stuff. And then, now we have speakers that reach out to us, and we had 427 submissions for this year, which is insane. It's an insane number of submissions. And it's tough to go through that many, but that's the power of being on one of our stages.
Yeah. So how many out of the 427 will actually get to speak?
About 89, 90.
Ooh, I'm so privileged. I love it.
Yeah. About 89, 90. And actually we plan on taking that number down even further next year. But we are just, we're just very blessed, and the movement is very blessed to have such incredible thought leaders in the space that are willing to give their time to this, and also that just have such a great heart for it and really want to help as many people as they can. And, we have become a platform company for that, and that's what we do, and that's what we're best at. And so, yeah, it's been really
I'm super
cool.
pumped. We were talking about it before the podcast that we've got 2 people that have been just instrumental in helping me to think differently about all things. And that's Paul Chek, who's going to be a speaker this year for the first time, and Dr. Joseph Mercola.
Yes.
And I've had Paul on the show already, and I'm talking to my buddy, Aaron Alexander, who's also does movement practices at Paleo FX. He's got the Align podcast, has been the first 2-time guest on the Onnit show since I took over. And he'll be setting up an interview with Dr. Joseph Mercola. So I'm
very
super
cool
pumped for that. Yeah, lots of good stuff. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Love Aaron. He's a sweetheart. He's spent quite a bit of time here in Austin. We've gotten to have dinner with him when he's been in town outside of Paleo FX, which is nice because, a lot of times we don't get to spend a lot of time with the speakers when we're at the event because we're just crazy. But anyway, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's the only guy when I walked around with him at Paleo FX where I no longer felt weird because I was next to him.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
He will out weird you no matter what. Like he drops into that. He's an inch taller than me. He's got a great build, and he'll drop into a squat where he's like an inch off the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you do that? But people will, they'll be walking around and be like, oh my God, I didn't see you. Sorry.
Yeah.
And they'll have to walk because he'll be like, ass to ground in his squat, opening up his body, just constantly working on his instrument, just tuning his body like no one else. He's a beautiful human.
Oh yeah. No, I crack up because I always, I liken him to like a monkey that has to move all the time. He's always doing his arms and legs, and I just like crack up because it's awesome.
Yeah. Anytime he passes a tree, he'll hang on the tree.
Oh yeah.
Like he can't just fucking walk by a regular tree. Let me hang on this for a minute and open up my body.
Yeah.
There's something to that though.
Oh yeah.
It's really special to see that, and it's inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's one of many, right? We have leaders in gut health, leaders in movement, leaders in kettlebells, leaders in diet nutrition, leaders in the keto space. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, we run from everything from sustainability to spirituality to mindset to entrepreneurship. It's not a diet conference. I mean, it's not just about the diet, because the diet's just a tiny little piece. When you start thinking about what a paleo lifestyle looks like, the paleo lifestyle is all encompassing. It's, what do you do in your spare time? It's not just the toxins. We're not just removing the toxins that we have in our food, but we're removing the toxins that we put on our bodies, that we use in our houses, or toxic thoughts, toxic people. Those are all part of this, is eliminating all of that so that you actually have a very holistically healthy, well-rounded life and ultimately happiness.
Yeah, our ancestors didn't watch reality TV. So that shit's out.
That's right. Yeah, I totally agree with you there.
Yeah, there's so much to that when it's easy to get narrow in our focus and really dive into things. And I think at different stages in our life, we do focus on one thing because that becomes a priority, and that's okay. But ultimately, it has to be global. It has to be global for ourselves, global for our family, our communities, and then the entire earth and beyond. It's just how we approach this thing from something that is sustainable for the way that we live, the way that we treat others, and the way the world works. Yeah, that's amazing. So what got you into plant medicines, which is one of my absolute favorite topics, and it's definitely something that's changed my life?
Actually, I have Whitney to thank for that.
Really?
Whitney Miller. So she was training with Keith when she was competing, when she was real heavy in her competing. And when she went to Peru her first time and came back, Keith noticed she was a completely different person. and was like, okay, he had been interested in it and we had been talking about it for a while. And, but he was like, man, you need to see Whitney. She's like totally different. And he was like, there's definitely something to it. And, so we really did start looking into it much more seriously. And then we were able to go do plant medicine out actually in the redwoods. Our very first time we did dieta, and it was amazing and completely life-changing. And it's part of my life for good. I can't say enough about what it's done for me. I really had a very difficult time. And this is actually something that I'm working on. It's part of my new project that's going to be launched soon, is that, being a woman, being a CEO can be really tough. And the problem with the way that we operate, particularly women in leadership, we operate in a very masculine way. We tend to try to mimic what we believe men do. And we work the way that we work and everything is we see ourselves in this man's world instead of creating our woman's world. And so what happens is we mimic masculinity in a false way. It's not authentic to who we are. And so it's that age old, well, if a man did it, he'd be called assertive, but if I do it, I'm called a bitch. And the thing is that it's because we are not authentic to that, what we think, how we think that men operate, and we don't operate like you do. So when we do it, it's false. And so that's why we get called a bitch or whatever, because we're trying to be assertive and demanding because we think that's how men operate. And that's not really how men operate. Y'all are completely different. When you come to a boardroom or a table or something, you're going to come and you're going to come in your power and you're going to, stand for what you believe in and everything. But at the end of the day, if the guy across the table is a friend of yours, you're going to concede where you need to concede, and it's a fine dance that men do when they're doing this. The problem is when women want to assert power when they're around men, they tend to be iron-fisted. And that's how I was. I was very iron-fisted. And instead of coming in and listening to, it was, I'm the CEO, it's my way, and that's it. And there was I didn't have any capacity for flexibility when it came to what I decided was what we were doing. And I realized that was, first of all, getting in my own way. My company wasn't going to grow that way, and nobody was going to want to continue to work for me. And the thing is I had been in positions of leadership and managed lots of teams and very large teams or whatever, and I had never operated like that in the positions that I was in. But what I realized was when I was actually the one completely in control and wrote the check, that's where I started doing that. And I think that it's a big disservice to women for us to operate that way. And so I've just been really working on that for the last couple of years, especially through the plant medicine, and really understanding how to operate from my feminine power, and that I'm a lot more powerful in my feminine power than when I'm trying to mimic what I think a man would do in my place. And so it's just completely changed my life. So at some point I need to tell Whitney, thank you. But yeah, it was really ultimately Whitney that got us really super interested in going. And it was funny because when we were getting ready to go, Keith misunderstood and thought there was only one position available for this retreat. And he was like, well, Michelle needs it and she can take it. And I was like, I kind of laughed about that a little bit later, but it was true. I really needed to go and just really get my mind set right. And what's really interesting is that every time I sit, I learn something really new about myself and about my journey here and why I'm here and what's my purpose and all of that. And it's just been incredible.
Yeah. That's funny that Keith sent you, because when I discovered it, I talked to my wife and she was like, you go. I don't want to puke. I don't want to shit my pants. It doesn't sound interesting. I'm good with psilocybin and traditional temazcal and things like that. And then of course I went, and I couldn't talk to people about my experience without just opening the floodgates for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like even just going through the visions that I had and what they meant to me, I would just break down and cry every time. Like it was just like a whole part of me was ripped wide open. And so of course she could not only see that, but feel how important that was to me. And then she's like, all right, I'm in for the next one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's been a part of 12 ceremonies with me. And
that's awesome.
And that's really helped us grow together. You know, I think without that, the personal growth that I've had in knowing I can release what no longer serves me from alcohol, bad food. Like I don't reward myself with shit food anymore.
Yeah.
That's a big one, right?
Yeah.
How many people do that? Like they lose a certain amount of weight and then it's like, okay, now I can eat this bad thing that'll destroy me from the inside. And
right.
And then thanks to guys like Perlmutter, we see it's not just going to put on 5 pounds. It's going to fuck up your neurochemistry. It's going to make you think worse. It's going to make you more emotional. Like there's all these things that go into our food. It's truly either poison or it's medicine, you know?
Agreed.
And so many downloads along the way for both of us. And then of course, in a relationship, what a great tool to have, to be able to have new perspective and to see each other and to really open up communication in a way that I didn't think was possible before that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Keith and I have done about 52 ceremonies together. I have 61 under my belt, but he's a little bit behind me. I went to a few retreats by myself, which was really, really great. But yeah, it has been really incredible for our relationship and how we both approach everything. It's interesting. On this plane, when we're here, when you haven't gone and done that, everything, I feel like there were still moments in time, even though I really worked hard and did a lot of self-development before I ever did Aya, was this victim mentality about things that happened. And, and I would still find, even through all different forms of self-development, that I would still go back to that mindset at times. Well, this happened, and it's all of that. And it's like, I finally realized through Aya that it just happens. There was no real reason that there was nothing I did wrong, or it was nothing, it was all of these things. And it was like, why did this happen to me? I'm a good person and blah, 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 blah. Well, it's, I started realizing how much when you have to go through a struggle, that's where you change. That's where you become a better person. And that it's actually through those struggles that I was able to grow, and that's where you grow. And so I finally really realized that through the medicine, and it didn't seem like any other type of self-development was ever going to probably get that completely through to me.
Yeah. It happens in your own personal experience. Right. And it's the idea that there's gratitude for everything. And I like using the analogy, like, if I walked into the gym and used just a barbell every day, I would reach a point where I'm not going to get any stronger. Like I have to add more weight as a new stressor, or I have to change up the dynamics with speed or some other form to create new stress so I get new growth and new development. And the beauty of life is we always have challenges, where there's no lack of challenges and stressors. And it's really how we view those. But looking back on everything, and certainly when we go into an altered state of consciousness through plant medicine, we can look back on that with appreciation for all of it, because it's easy to see how those stressful times in our lives equated to better living and some outcome that we really do desire. And we really needed those things as catalysts for change.
I completely agree. And, it's interesting too, is that I am happy with where I am and who I am now. And I wouldn't be that person if I hadn't gone through a lot of the things. I'm not sure if you're aware, but our daughter was killed almost 9 years ago. In May, it'll be 9 years. And, there was a part of that where I was just like, why her? Why, all the questions of why. And then I finally got to a point of release on that, and a place of peace and understanding that she had served her time here, and she had moved on, and it was kind of a humbling thing to think she was She was killed 3 days before her 23rd birthday and a week before her college graduation. She was a music and worship ministry major. And she's also a lot of the reason why Paleo FX exists, because we wanted to carry on her legacy because she had changed so many lives in such a short period of time. But what was really interesting is to look and realize, damn, her work was done so fast. She already had gotten to a point where her work was done and she was being rewarded. And I'm humbled by that. And I have a lot of peace around her death and feel her presence all the time. I've, gotten to talk to her during ceremonies many times and sing with her. And she was a beautiful musician and a beautiful singer, gifted, very, very gifted. And so it's, super humbling and realizing, you know what, I find beauty in the ashes. And that the beauty from what happened to her is that Paleo FX exists now, and we're very blessed. And I feel like I'm the person that I am because I had to go through that.
Yeah, that's incredible perspective. I think a big shift for people too, in however you want to word it, a breakthrough dose or a heroic dose, as Terence McKenna would say, is a total shift in how we view death. And again, like, you can read about this in books, you can read about it in ancient texts and religion and spirituality, but until you really understand it for yourself and embody that and know I'm not my body, there's something here that will live on past my body. Like, that understanding is a giant shift in the way we look at things moving forward, and knowing that everything on this plane is transitory. Everything's changing. Like, the only constant is change, right? But to experience that and to be okay with that, there's a different level of allowing and comfort in the knowing that it's okay that it's changing. It's okay that I'm aging. It's okay that my job is changing, or that this thing is going on that's difficult right now, because nothing lasts forever.
Agreed.
Right? There's a piece of me that will,
yeah.
But everything here can change, and that's okay.
Yeah. And that's something too that's also made things for me. So I'm one of those people, I'm a super taster. So if I had to taste anything that was kind of gross, or even if it was
You're like
good
a pregnant woman, you're around.
Yeah. But it was, I would not put myself through it. I'd be like, even if I knew it was something I really needed to do for myself, for my health, for whatever reason, I wouldn't do it. And actually having started doing plant medicine and understanding everything's temporary, nothing's going to last forever, that actually started making me like, okay, I horse down, stuff that I need to take, supplements and what have you, that I need to take that are good for me, that I may not necessarily like the taste of or what have you. And, but that's it. It's like, nothing's going to last forever. And so why do you get your head caught up in that whole thing of, oh, well, this is miserable or whatever. And I realized, and this actually was not this last ceremony, but my very, the second to last one, I'm in, the washing machine when it's just there's a lot of information coming at you. And we call it Tibetan circus porn, when it's just this weird kind of strange, things and a lot of, it would feel very almost, degenerate and demented to me whenever I would see it, and I would get this overwhelming sadness and just pain and why, really, do I have to go through this again? Do I really have to see? And then finally, that second to last time, she said, you're the one that places the title on this. You're the one that places the tag on it, whether it's good or it's bad. You're the one that's doing that. You're making the choice that it's either negative or it's positive. So why can't it just be? Why can't it just be something that you try to enjoy, or you try to have some gratitude for, because you're going to learn something one way or the other. So why not let it be? Why not just let it be? Why do you have to put any kind of tag on it? So then the next night when it started, I thought, okay, I'm just going to lay here and kind of enjoy it. And I did. I just like really, and it was beautiful. It was this amazing experience. And it was some of the same things I had seen before, some of the same visions I had seen before, that, you know, kind of circus stuff that's coming at you. And when it's spinning and lots of colors and, you know, weird clowns and all kinds of stuff. And I'm seeing all this and I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of fun. It's all right. You know, it was not like this. I didn't place the tag on it. And that's what I think we do in life so many times is we place a tag on something. Oh, this is negative. Oh, this is positive. Oh, that's negative. Oh, that's bad. That's not good. And we do that. We place these labels on everything. We have to tag everything. And it's like, why do we do that? Why can't we just be and let it be and be okay with whatever it is and be grateful for whatever message it's gotten? And it may not be anything that's going to, you know, light your pants on fire, but at the end of the day, every experience should ultimately mean something to you in the fact that you're human and wow, you got to experience this. And that part's just cool. And so, yeah, I am so grateful for the opportunity to even some of the bad stuff that I've had to see or be, you know, witness in some of my visions. It's been really a lot of growth out of that.
Yeah. It's interesting when you talk about that, it's like this idea, and so much in you know, Carl Jung and great psychologists talk about that, like what we place, these labels we place on things, those then become the lens through which we see the world. Mm-hmm. Right? But we're the one that fucking puts the lens in front of our eyes when we see that. And most people have no idea we create our own reality through that, right? Through that lens. It's how we view the world that becomes our experience.
Yeah. And you know, that's the other part of it too, is that one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned, and it was actually the first time that I actually got Mariato. Because my first ceremony, I didn't really get anything. I felt vibration, but I didn't get any visions or anything. But my second one was the very first thing. You're not in control. Mm-hmm. You control nothing. You think you're in control. And it was the craziest thing is to have, it was kind of a release. Like, oh shit, I'm not in control. It was like, I finally understood the only thing that I can control is how I either respond or I react to something. And response is mindful and reaction is gut and knee jerk and no thought behind it, and usually turns into some kind of chaos or some kind of negative. And it was like, when I recognized that, it was like, oh my God, this is so awesome that don't have to be in control. I don't need to be. And then one of the last ceremonies, a few months ago, maybe, yeah, it was in October, I got that I don't want to be in control. What I want is influence, not control. And influence comes from a place of respect and garnering respect, and where people want to follow you, you're not demanding something or saying it's going to be this way or it's going to be that way or what have you. And I just realized, damn, that's a completely different way. And it's part of that working into my feminine too, is operating from that feminine. I can garner respect and not have to be in control and just be able to influence the things that I want to influence and say, okay, well, this is my vision for what I want to do here at Paleo FX or whatever I'm doing, and take the ideas in and then help get them going in that direction, but not go, oh, well, it's going to be this way, or, you know.
Yeah, it might look different than the idea, right?
Yeah.
But it's the action steps necessary to make that come to fruition. And then in that, having the flexibility to let new things come in that you might not have seen or had an idea about. I like that idea of influence too on others, because ultimately as you become a thought leader or somebody who has a message to share, it's not the message for everybody. There's no one fucking message that goes to all people and is well received, right?
Yeah.
And so to be okay with that, to be okay with those who wish to hear will hear, you know, and it's beautiful to see how Paleo FX has grown from that. You know, you have a lot of like-minded individuals that are, a lot in many ways, working on the same things through different avenues, ultimately our health and how we get the most out of life. And that's a big, obviously, here at Onnit, we wish to live each day a little bit better than we lived the past, and just continue to make little improvements over time, because those add up. But that idea that we can influence others in a way that is better received, and those who are willing to listen will hear the message and gravitate towards that. And those that aren't ready for it, that's okay too. Right. Everyone walks their own path, and there's plenty of people out there who'd rather get shit-faced every weekend and eat like crap, and that's the reward. And the reward holds them in their own sickness and unhealth. And that's okay too. I think a lot of people that get into this space got into it out of necessity. You listen to Rob Wolf, who was a raw vegan in college, to try to pick up the vegan chicks. It's such a hilarious story, but totally ultimately seeing that as like, oh, I'm not healthy. Right. I'm way not healthy anymore.
Oh yeah.
And then that drive, like, what is the spark that creates the fire and the passion to learn and to really dive into these things, and then to share our experiences and our stories with others who are willing to listen.
Agreed. And this is something that I said a few years ago at Paleo FX. We were actually talking about the, podcasts, and that we were challenging people to do a podcast. And so many people were like, well, there's so many podcasts out there already. I'm like, but not everybody, like Rob, as much as I love Rob doesn't speak to everybody, and not everybody resonates with Rob. Same thing with Mark, with Nora, with Sarah, with Chris Kresser. And I mean, the thing is that you have a voice that's going to resonate with somebody, and it's trying to get people to take that action on their own and just say, hey, you can make change. You don't have to be Rob Wolf to make a change. You don't have to be Aubrey Marcus. You don't have to be Kyle Kingsbury. You don't have to be Nora or Chris or any of those people. Those people are taken. Be you, and you're going to touch somebody's life. And even if it's one person, that's amazing. And so it was interesting to see how many podcasts were out the following year. It was a lot. Because I totally resonate with that, because not every voice speaks to you. Just not something that's going to happen.
It's really funny you bring that up, because I have a little story of when I was wandering through Paleo FX last year. I may have had a microdose of some plant medicine, and I was hanging out with the Mind Pump crew. I don't think you
would be alone in that, but anyway.
And the Mind Pump guys were walking around, and obviously, they do 1 million downloads a month. There are 5 episodes a week, like Rogan. They're balling, and so everyone they'd meet at these stands, they'd be like, "Oh, you're the Mind Pump crew," and then instead of giving them a sample, they'd turn around and hand them like a box and a business card, like, "Do you guys accept sponsors on the podcast? We want to sponsor your show." And Sal, being a great friend, he'd be like, "Hey, me and my buddy, Kyle Kingsbury, he's starting a podcast," and this was before Onnit, obviously, and it was funny because if people recognized me from fighting in the UFC, they'd be like, "Oh shit, dude, I used to love watching you fight. What are you doing now?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm starting a podcast. It's going to be on this, this, and this." And it was very easy to talk to them. If they didn't recognize me from fighting, then it was this weird pull where I had, like, "Oh, you don't, how many episodes do you have?" "Oh, 0." And it was like, fuck, I felt so small in an instant. And then, really diving into that, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. Like, why do I feel so fucking uncomfortable right now? And then after a while, I went, I forget what you guys call it. It's like a barefoot meditation room. It's a little tent that you have set up where you can just
go. Oh, the chill zone?
The chill zone.
Yeah.
The chill zone is so dope.
Yeah.
So I go in there, and Mike Bledsoe's just chilling in there. He's laid out, giant smile on his face. He's like, "Come here, brother." I give him a big hug. And I drop into meditation. I was like, "What's going on?" And I checked in, and it was like, "Oh, I've never felt comfortable selling myself to others. I've never felt comfortable explaining, this is what I do, this is what I know, or these are the things I'm passionate about." And I was, being put to the fire right there as a first test, because if you're going to do this, ultimately you have to talk about what you know, and it was funny to see that dynamic there. And then, fast forward to getting the job at Onnit, doing, obviously I'm in front of a camera way more often than I ever have before, not just with the podcast, but doing the life hack of the week through Onnit social media and many other things. And so, when I went to fill out the form to be a guest at Paleo FX as a speaker, there was one question, and it made me laugh hysterically. It was, what qualifies you to be a panelist at Paleo FX? And I was like, I got this. And just filled out
That's awesome.
Giant answer, but it was like such a beautiful turnaround, to see that. And I think
I have to say that's the one question I love to read the most. It's hilarious.
I love it. I love that question.
Rob's every single year, he says something new and hilarious and crazy, and we all get a big kick out of it. So I think one of the times that he wrote was there's because Paleo FX's standards are so low, so I can speak. That was one of his that we just died laughing. And then the other one was, I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a girl. And I was like, okay,
like, all right, you're in. But yeah, it's this idea that you don't always have to know everything. You don't always have to know how it's going to work out. But if you follow your gut, if you listen to your heart, and if you go towards the things that inspire you, they will work out. You don't have to figure out every fucking possible outcome in life. All you have to do is know, like, oh, hey, I really want to do this thing, and trust and have faith and belief that it will work out. And along the way, as you hit your speed bumps and roadblocks and you find different paths to take up the mountain, ultimately you still find your way to the top of the mountain.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. What's interesting, just in watching how Paleo FX has changed over the years and what we've been able to, who we've been able to get at, which, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but Dennis McKenna is going to be at Paleo FX.
What?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah. When you mentioned Terrence a few minutes ago, I meant to tell you that, but it's just like these people that are just amazing people that you're like, so we listen to, and we've been following for forever. And it's so cool to watch how that's morphed and grown, and who's come into the fold, and who's, just really killing it and making so many amazing changes in the world. And so, yeah, I just really, really, really like that we're in that space. And I think it's because the people that are there are not afraid to go forward. And even when they have 0 podcasts, when they have, when you're just, you feel so strongly and so passionately about what you do know and what you feel can help other people, and you put that message out there, it's amazing what happens. And
yeah, it's all
how Paleo FX kind of starts. So yeah.
Beautiful. Well, yeah. I'm extra excited for this year's Paleo FX for sure.
Yeah. So Paul Check and Dennis McKenna, they'll be on a panel together.
Massive.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. They're going to be on a panel together. I guess I'm on John Durant hit me up, who I'm a huge fan of. I got to meet at a dinner with Aubrey last year at Paleo FX. Huge fan of his. And I guess we're going to be on a panel together.
Yeah.
He was telling me. So I'm like,
which
I have no idea. All I did was I just got the email that said that I was approved for the speaking engagement.
Yeah.
I didn't see which panels I'm on. I guess Sarah Gustafson is on a panel as well that I'll be on. So
yeah,
I'm down for all of it. I have no idea. And I'm sure with the amount of speakers you have, you probably have no idea.
Now, I generally can keep everything, but this week has been a rough one. I'm a little tired. So normally I can pull right where you're going to be and which panels you're going to be on. And right now I'm drawing a blank. And so I know you're on them, but I just don't know what. Anyway.
Yeah,
so
I'm excited though. Honestly, like I could be paired with anybody, and there's a very high likelihood I'm going to know who I'm speaking with and what they're about, and obviously have a lot of good stuff to share and learn from.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, what I love about Paleo FX too is meeting the new people, getting to make these really great connections and new friends, and that's pretty freaking cool. Because what's great is there's kind of already a little vetting there when you're coming in, is that they already are in your world. They already think what you do and how you live is the norm. And instead of you being a weirdo and you like, what in the world you don't want sugar and soy and gluten in your food. What's wrong with you? Yeah. So it's kind of cool.
Wheat's been a staple since Jesus. Come on.
I know. Anyway, what's wrong with you people? Anyway, I just I just love that aspect of Paleo FX and the getting to check out new people and meet new people.
Yeah. Many more coming.
Yeah.
So you said you'd mentioned that you guys are working on something new. You're birthing something new into the.
Actually, it's me.
It is.
It's just me. So it's, I am going to be launching my own, website. It'll be coaching, for women. It's around mindset, entrepreneurship, passion projects, and, really just stepping into the feminine and working and operating from that authentic place and finding our power there. And so, I'm going to be launching that very soon. I have, we have social media build up for it right now. So we've been doing that. So I'm Zero Gravity Soul is all my social media. So that's what we're doing.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I just had a podcast with Onnit. That's the lady I was telling you about that I just visited out in Sedona. And we talked quite a bit about the Native American medicine wheel and balance. And then we just got to touch on for the last 15 minutes in that podcast. It should come out right around the same time, shortly after yours, or ours rather. And she talked a bit about the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and the aspects of the conscious and unconscious feminine, the aspects of the conscious and unconscious masculine, and how important it is that we embody the conscious versions of both of those, because we all have those qualities. We all should have those qualities.
Right.
You know, it's not just for women to be nurturing, you know, like a good man should have some nurturing qualities.
Agreed.
And not just for his children, but for his wife and for others, and to be compassionate, right? So many of the teachings we read about in the old books come back through these teachings. But I'm really looking forward to that. And I think that's a podcast you should definitely check out, because
I definitely will.
Amazing person. Yeah.
Definitely.
When you described that to me about working with really helping women find themselves and the beauty and the feminine, that's the first person I think of.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to listen to that then. Yeah. That's going to be cool.
Very cool. Well, where can people find you online? Where can they check you out?
So Zero Gravity Soul.
That's Instagram, Twitter.
That's all of them. On Instagram and Twitter, though, it is ZER0 Gravity Soul. Because somebody had taken the other and wasn't using it, but they wouldn't get rid of it. So I put the number in. So it's Zero Gravity Soul with the number 0. And then on Facebook, it's just Zero Gravity Soul. And so that's where I'm at.
And Paleo FX is every year around the same time at the end of April, correct?
Yeah, we got ourselves moved back into April as of this year. We were in May last year, but we got ourselves back into April this year, and we will be the same weekend next year, the last weekend of April again. So we're happy about that. We just think that it's much better for everybody as far as travel's concerned, but also the weather's better. And
I noticed it was piping hot.
Yeah. And it's just really difficult a lot of times in May, because you have, all kinds of graduations, Mother's Day, it's proms, the whole 9 yards. Of course, there's still a chance of proms in April, of course, but generally May is a pretty busy month for a lot of other things to go on. And so, and then of course you have Memorial Day weekend. And unfortunately, when you take the entire Palmer Event Center, your options for dates goes down dramatically. So we got stuck with Memorial Day weekend one year, and a lot of people were not happy about it. And we were like, I'm sorry, we didn't do it intentionally. And the same thing, we had it on Easter weekend one year, because the same thing happened. We only had that option. And then, we don't want to go out into the summer here, because it's just blazing hot. It's brutal. Yeah. And it's not fun. It's not as fun for people to come to Austin and hang out. And we want them to really be able to enjoy their time in Austin too, because it's such a cool city. So yeah. And, come over here to Onnit and hang out here.
Yeah. Get some workouts in, get some food at the cafe.
That's right.
Hit the cryo, hit the hot sauna with the infrared.
Yeah.
All the goodies.
Yes.
Well, it's been excellent having you on. And I definitely want to get Keith on at some point.
Yeah.
It'd be excellent. And I'm really looking forward to Paleo FX.
Oh, well, we're looking forward to it too. And I'm looking forward to hearing you talk.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.